Not all available historical sources are authentic and credible. After this lesson, you are expected first to understand the study of history as reconstruction of the past. Second, appreciate the importance of critical analysis on historical evidences. And lastly, analyze historical texts using external and internal criticism. For instance, in this picture posted in the internet, it can be seen that Ferdinand Marcos was a recipient of a prestigious medal awarded by General MacArthur. Description says that he was given the medal for his extraordinary gallantry and courage for risking his life in a combat against the Japanese forces during World War II. The picture, however, was edited using technology that time. Historians attempt to reconstruct past historical events. This is not an easy task to do. Historians rely on surviving records which are almost limited. As said by Louis Gottschalk, only a part of what was observed in the past was remembered by those who observed it. Only a part of what was remembered was recorded. Only a part of what was recorded has survived. Only a part of what has survived has come to the historian's attention. The bigger problem is only a part of what is credible has been grasped. And only a part of what has been grasped can be expounded or narrated by the historian. Take a look at the limited historical evidences which were used to write about Mactan warrior leader named Lapu-Lapu, who, together with his warriors, defeated the Spaniards in the Battle of Mactan. Today, there are just but two historical sources to prove the authenticity of Lapu-Lapu's existence. The first is the Journal of Antonio Pigafetta, who served as chronicler of Magellan's voyage. And the other one is the less reliable Epic of Aguinid in the book Aguinid Bayok sa Atang Tawarik, compiled by Jovito Abellana in 1952. Writing history requires historical method. It is the process of critically examining and analyzing the records and survivals of the past. Historians have to verify sources, to date them, locate their place of origin, and identify their intended functions. Like in this example I used before, this picture cannot be taken in the year 1935 because there were no laptops yet that time. The laptop does not belong to the period. In textual historical evidences, historical criticism is usually used. In order for a source to be used as evidence in writing history, basic matters about its form and content must be settled. There are two types of historical criticism: external and internal criticism. External criticism is a test to prove the authenticity of a written evidence. This is used to spot fabricated, forged, and fake documents, or to distinguish hoax, fake documents, or misrepresentation from authentic, genuine, and accurate historical evidences. The tests of authenticity according to Louis Gottschalk are: first, determine the date of the document to see whether the sources are anachronistic. Example is the alleged letter of Dr. Jose Rizal to his wife Josephine Bracken using ballpen dated June 11, 1894. Ballpen did not exist yet before 1938. It was Laszlo Biro, a Jewish Hungarian journalist, invented the ballpoint pen in 1930s and first sold this in 1938, just before the onset of World War II. It means the letter of Rizal is not authentic. Second, identify the author of the text. It is essential to determine the handwriting, signature, and seal to see the identity of the author. For example, is the alleged diaries of President Ferdinand Marcos. The handwriting and signature must be compared with other written documents to prove the authenticity of the evidence. Third is anachronistic style. The critical analysis to ensure authenticity of historical written evidence also relies to the examination of idiomatic expressions, orthography or spelling according to established usage, and punctuation used. In other words, sentence constructions, spelling, and grammar reflect the time period. For instance, this document showing the Supreme Assembly meeting of KKK held on January 1, 1896. The words tuwing, spelled as Tuing, and buwan, spelled as Buan, show that this document was made in 1896. If this is recently written, this should have been spelled as Tuwing and Buwan. Hence, styles of writing in different periods vary. Fourth, determine also the anachronistic reference to events. In a written source, historians can identify if an event mentioned is too early, too late, or too remote for the time of the making of the document. For instance, Jose Rizal wrote to Ferdinand Blumentritt, dated February 5, 1889, that he was recruited as honorary president of the Katipunan. Katipunan documents and other accounts of Katipuneros show that the earliest traces of establishment of the Katipunan was in the year 1892. The authenticity of Rizal's letter would be a big question because Katipunan was not yet created that time. Fifth, provenance or custody of the document. Where was the document kept before it was discovered? Who kept this? The answers will determine also the genuineness of the evidence. Let me use again Jose Rizal. The controversial Rizal's retraction letter was discovered by Father Manuel Garcia in 1935. 39 years after his death, a document stating that Rizal retracted all accusations and false stories about the Catholic priests in the Philippines. The alleged document show his signature. The retraction was first published in La Voz Española and Diario de Manila on the very day of Rizal's execution, December 30, 1896. The second text appeared in Barcelona, Spain on February 14, 1897 in the fortnightly magazine La Juventud. It came from an anonymous writer who revealed himself 14 years later as Father Balaguer. The alleged original text was discovered in the Archdiocesan Archives on May 18, 1935. Well, analysis of the document shows inconsistencies with the published documents. The published copy in 1896 has texts mi cualidad with you. The Jesuits' copies have mi calidad without you. In the published copy, it has texts Catholica Iglesias in the first use of the word. The Jesuits' copies, only the word Iglesias was stated. In the published copy, particularly in the third use of the word Iglesias, there is only word Iglesia. While in the Jesuits' copies, misma Iglesias were written. The published copy has only 4 commas, while Jesuits' copies have 11 commas. The Jesuit copies did not have the names of the witnesses. Compared to the published copy, it has names. What were the intentions of the priest who divulged the retraction to the public? Why did he or they keep this for 39 years? And why was it changed? If it changed, why they forged Rizal's signature? In the 6th step, historians must determine the meaning of a text or word used in the document. This is the process which we call semantics. Example is the word marupok. Before, it simply means a branch that easily breaks. Today, it may refer to a person who easily fall in love to someone even if he or she is still committed to someone. Meanings of words are changing. These are the steps to determine the authenticity of written documents. How about internal criticism? Internal criticism is a test of credibility. Not all historical evidences are credible sources. The author should have the competence of telling what happened to be credible. Historians present evidence based on the testimony to show as close as what really happened after critical examination of what are the available resources or sources. The term is very similar. These are steps of testing credibility of a written evidence. First is identification of the author. This means determine his or her reliability, mental competence, and personal attitudes. Here is an example. Former Senator Juan Ponce Enrile changed his account about his alleged 1972 failed assassination. Before martial law was proclaimed by Marcos, it was reported in news that Enrile was assassinated, but he survived because, according to him, he was riding his bodyguard's car instead of his Mercedes-Benz, which was shot by the communists. In February 1986, when he broke ties with Marcos, he proclaimed that the failed assassination was fake. In 2018, he changed again his story that the assassination really happened. Even in his book, he admitted that the event really happened. His account to the incident is now unreliable and less credible. Second step of testing credibility of a written source is determining the approximate date. The date will not only tell if the evidence is fake, but also unreliable. Third is check the author's ability to tell the truth. Analyze the nearness of the facts to the event or competence of witness. For instance, a Katipunero leader wrote an account about historical events during Philippine Revolution after 30 years, in which he is already 93 years old. The account that will be produced is less credible because the man is already suffering from senility. Details and facts of the events will no longer be consistent and accurate. The fourth is determine the willingness to tell the truth by establishing if the author consciously or unconsciously tells falsehoods. It means that credibility of some witnesses of historical events is affected by bias and attitude against people involved. Lastly, corroboration. Historians do not rely on just one source to study an event, but on many sources. They construct their own interpretations about a historical event by means of comparison among sources, or by listening to many voices, as they say. Simply, an evidence should be corroborated with other sources to establish credibility. These are the steps to test the credibility of a written source. I hope you learned in this presentation. Thank you for watching.